Like all art is like therapy and a cry for help, all in one, you know.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is the What You Don't Hear podcast. This is a life podcast, it's a story podcast, it's an open journal dive into people's lives as I sit and uncover the real story behind my guest journey, finding out what makes them who they are, and digging into the parts of their story that we wouldn't otherwise get to hear. I am your host. My name is Ross Tyson. I'm a freelancer of all kinds. I'm a creative director. I've been known to dabble as a filmmaker. I'm quietly trying to build a media empire, but of course, as you can tell in this case, I'm a podcaster because I'm someone who just, really enjoys talking to people. Probably a little too much, but thankfully for me, I can do the things like this, where I can sit and talk to people about their lives and their goals and their fears and their dreams and accomplishments and everything in between. So, I'll tell you about my guest this week, but first I have some very lovely sponsors to tell you about because, well, if I didn't, then that would be, of course, very rude of me because that's not how sponsorship deals work. So, first, this episode is brought to you in part by Makers Social, a place that is located right here in the Franklinton Arts District, where I happen to make this podcast. It is legitimately right across the street. So what is it? Well, Maker Social is a DIY project bar where you can get your hands messy with some fun projects with things like woodworking, leatherworking, jewelry making, and painting. And they also host private group events such as team building, corporate events, and birthdays. Now, what's more interesting is, well, you can drink while you do these things if you want, because they also have a full bar loaded with cocktails, local beers, and a very rare bourbon list for you bourbon collectors out there. So, what's more fun than getting your craft on with some friends while maybe getting your drink on as well for a night out? So, you can make a reservation on their website, and if you do right now, you can type WYDH into the notes section of your checkout when you make the reservation to get $10 off your project's booking. So, head to makerscolumbus.com if you want to go check it out. And this episode is also brought to you in part by Promo West Productions, and you know the drill by now. I've got some more cool shows that you can go check out. So if you're interested in catching a live show, you can check out one of these upcoming concerts that are going down at Newport Music Hall via Promo West. They've got Twin Temple on Saturday, October 15th, Bad Sons on October 16th. Guess what? You'll probably see me at that show if you go to that one. The Airborne Toxic event on October 18th, and Barnes Courtney on Friday, October 21st. Again, all these concerts are happening at Newport Music Hall. So to purchase your tickets, you can visit AXS.com, or as always, for more info on these or any other upcoming shows, you can visit promowestlive.com for all the info you need. Okay, let's get to this week's conversation. So this episode, I sit down with comedian Angie Healy, and man, is this a fun chat that I have with her. This is one of those episodes where I feel like I really, became friends with someone that I didn't know before we sat down to do this podcast and record this. Angie is super fun to talk to. She, of course, is funny and honestly really open as she shares a lot of what she's been through in this episode. So let's just get to it. Let's dive in. I could tell you more. I could say more. But why do that when there's over an hour of conversation where you'll hear all the things that I could tell you about here? So let's dive in. Episode 67 of What You Don't Hear.
I almost put our hands together. I thought that's what you were gonna do.
I
you were
want that.
Setting an intention for the next hour.
We will tell the best stories.
I'm so sorry. Please continue.
That is incredible. Honestly, I want that to be the start of the episode now. It's just
Great.
Yes, we are here. We are telling a story. We're up and running, so I think we can officially begin to talk and actually start saying real things rather than trying to play it safe.
This is great.
And save it for the recording.
That's wonderful. It was difficult communicating only with eyebrows.
It was, but we made it work.
Before when we could not talk, so I'm appreciative.
We did make it work. I understood everything that we said just with eyebrows in the lead up of this. It was honestly not bad. right?
Yeah.
Very expressive. Like I don't meet
Very
many
fluent.
people
Yeah.
with other expressive eyebrows.
Yeah, it's a family trait.
We really did
I
make it
realized.
work. We made it work. And that's always, honestly, that's always something that crosses my mind when people do get here. And just like we were talking about before we were recording, like I'm always like, you got to save the good stuff. Like can't really start to get to know each other
yeah.
until we're recording. But then I'm always like, what else do we talk about in the lead up to recording? And I'm always like, man, I'm asking this person about like the weather. And they're probably like, this is how you're introducing me for your podcast?
We've been much more vivacious in the last minute and 45 seconds than not to say that it was a snooze.
Right.
But
it's like I'm playing it safe. I'm always playing it safe.
Absolutely. I had questions. I was like, oh, save it.
Exactly.
Put it in my pocket.
Exactly. Save
which is so
it
silly because
for
I'm
the
absolutely
pod.
going to fucking forget.
That's fine though. That's fine. As long as you can remember things about you when I ask you in the moment, that's all we need, realistically.
I will do my best.
And now we are at that moment. So first off, thanks so much for being down to do this.
Thank you for having me.
I
Thank you for
appreciate
being
you.
down.
Yes. So we met in passing at a show in the last handful of weeks, or maybe it's been months at this point. I
Time
don't
is
know
silly.
what time is, to be honest. And so first, I'm gonna do something that a lot of people hate. I'm gonna give you a bunch of compliments right off the bat.
I don't hate it.
Okay, great.
It's okay.
Good, because I know some people are like, oh, don't. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna.
Yeah. For those not viewing, I'll be beaming. Go.
Yes, I will be very excited and tell me great
No, I'm
things.
just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, so like that night at the comedy show when we met, just in passing, you were about to leave. I did tell you, hey, you crushed it. That was an awesome set. I'm here to tell you again on a recording of a podcast, you killed it.
Thank you.
And when I say that, I don't even necessarily mean in like the casual, like, oh, dude, you were funny and you did a good set.
Yeah. Killed it, bro.
Like, I mean it more in the sense of like, and this is even a big part of why I was like, okay, I really want to get to know you. I would love to have her on the show and, dive into like what this is and like how like all of this started, right? Because like I'm a big, like I pay a lot of attention to entertainment things that people do. And what I mean by that is like if I'm watching like a local band play live, sure, I want the song to sound good and I'm paying attention to how that sounds, but I'm more so paying attention to their performance.
Yeah.
Like,
are they cool? Are they fun?
how do they like own the quote unquote spotlight, right? Do they
Sure.
really put the effort in? And I'm not saying it's like bad or good if you do or don't. Everybody's different. But for me, that's just where my attention always goes. It's like, how does it seem like this person is like owning what they're doing?
Yeah.
Because I don't do stand up and I don't actually do comedy. I have a heavy love for comedy. Have for a super long time, and so it's always been something that I pay a lot of attention to, of like, how does this person carry themselves when they're performing? So that was a long roundabout way to say that is what I feel like you owned in your set. Like,
I
not
gotcha.
only were the jokes funny, but I was like, you were supposed to be up there doing that.
Yeah, my destiny.
It was
Yeah.
your destiny.
Yeah,
I can see
my charisma.
But that really that was the thing. I was like, man, like you're owning it, and because it wasn't just, and like I'm
Yeah.
sure, like
I mean, I love it. So it's really easy to step into that like space, and as much as it is simultaneously like incredibly vulnerable, I'm also like feel very empowered to just be like, fuck off, this is my time, everybody
Right.
watch me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I try not to just exist as like center of attention in a normal communal setting, because then you're just like a dickhead and everybody hates you and nobody wants to go to your comedy. But when I have that opportunity, it's like I am the one with the microphone and all of your seats are facing me, so I might as well do like a really great job of, I don't know, like having a good time and maybe like piquing a few points of interest layered within, a bunch of silliness. So
Right,
thanks. I
right.
appreciate it. I love it. It's my favorite thing.
Well, and that's the cool thing, and that's why I was like, this is dope, because I could tell you're having fun. Because like I think in so many, I'll just umbrella term all of it is like any sort of like entertainment field, whether it's a band playing music, a comedian doing stand-up, somebody doing theater, like I don't know, anything, like I feel like it's very easy to kind of phone it in without knowing you're phoning it in by not, like, when you have that layer of like, oh, how vulnerable do I want to be? How out there do I want to be? I think it's very easy for, especially in stand-up, and I'm sure you know far better than I do, being more involved, like, really in the stand-up world, at any level, right?
Sure.
I'm sure you've probably at least seen, your fair share of maybe some people who do kind of go up and they're just reciting the jokes.
Oh yeah, like their heart's not in it. I see a lot of people and their heart. I can tell their heart's not in it, and it's not as if they're coming off flat because they're nervous. I think everybody should. I mean, I'm nervous every time in a sense of like, there's a bit of an anxiety. There's a quick moment of what if I fail? Like what if they don't laugh?
Right.
Like what if they fucking hate me?
Yeah.
But there's also like. I get that, and I feel like we can kind of read that in a person, but I've seen so many people who they're just like, their heart is not in it. And I'm like, why in the fuck would you do stand-up comedy if you don't like stand-up comedy?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Like, they don't laugh at other people. Like, I don't think they're joyous people, and I don't think that you can be a stand-up comedian if you don't have joy.
I mean, that's like stand-up comedy fascinates me for multiple reasons. And yes, it's funny and it's fun to watch and all that sort of stuff. But again, where my head always goes is like, all right, like this person is performing, they're playing a bit of a character, right? They're turning it on in the same way that in subtle ways I do when I'm recording this show, right?
Sure.
I
Yeah,
go
yeah,
into
yeah.
podcast host mode. I go into, I need to have a good conversation. Like we were joking about, like when I bring people here before we record, I'm trying to keep things very contained.
Yeah.
So then all the good conversation comes
Yeah.
out with the energy on the actual show. And so it's always interesting to me to kind of see that dynamic of seeing somebody performing. How much are they performing and how much are they kind of just going through the motions of the thing that they're trying to do?
Yeah.
And I've seen way more local bands than I have seen stand-up comedians. So that's kind of my easy comparison. Is like I've seen plenty of local bands go up and play a song,
Sure.
but they're
okay,
not
yeah.
necessarily putting on a performance.
They're like, this is the tune and this is how it goes.
This is
and
that I'm
we
playing the
wrote
guitar,
This song
and this is
yesterday,
it.
I think, or maybe a month ago, or a year, or 5. I'm not sure.
Exactly.
And you're like, wow, thriller.
And
This
so
is-
like
rock on.
not to keep going back and repeating this over and over, but like that was the big thing that stood out to me in your set. Is I'm like, you owned the performance. You were up there and it was like, I am having fun doing this.
Yeah. yeah.
And like, so that's always something that always stands out to me for everything. So I have been waiting to really give you that full explanation of, hey, your set was
Yeah.
dope.
I'm really glad you didn't like fucking write that in a card or something. It would have been,
You know
it
what?
would have been like a phone book arriving
Maybe
to.
I should
I'm
have.
just kidding.
I think I should have.
Please write that all down. Listen back and write it all down. I'll give you my address.
Yes, I will send it, and it's going to come in the mail one day, and you're like, what is
I'll
this?
be tickled. I love all
Wow.
stationary things. I think that's my like, little like stupid shit white people like characteristic. It's like I love really nice stationery. So if you get a nice little
This is
pad
perfect.
or something, I'll be.
I'm gonna get an entire little notebook, and I'm gonna write out that entire thing that I
love
just
it.
said, transcribe it into that, send it to you, just so you, if you're ever feeling down one day, you can just look back at that long compliment. Be like, I've got this book to read real quick.
Yeah.
It's one long compliment.
I
want
want to feel good in about 10 minutes after I read this.
Exactly. Yeah. Hopefully, you're a decently quick reader because there's a lot of
Yeah,
stuff in
yeah,
there. And
yeah.
you can make it happen.
Great. Yes.
So, I would love to dive into where all of this begins. Because there's also parts of your set that you told from your perspective of growing up and certain like situations you were in and stuff, which also I immediately locked in the back of my mind where I'm like, okay, I would love to know more about that. So, first off, like, where does like the love for stand-up comedy, or is there a love for stand-up comedy? Like, where does the
Yeah.
interest even spawn from?
Oh, there's definitely a very deep love. I don't know where it spawned necessarily, but the thing that kind of comes to mind may be, I feel like growing up, moving a lot. I went to, I think, like 10 schools in K through 12. So it's
Really?
like a new kid a lot.
Okay.
I feel like it's kind of a tale told by low-income kids. A lot of families move around, like new jobs, avoiding evictions, like that sort of shit. we weren't like, cool travelers or anything. We were just riffraff. And I think I discovered after maybe a few trial and errors that being funny was the easiest way to make friends. It was like the most successful, like, and even for, just to be memorable or anything. So it was just like the easiest. And then I think I just really leaned into developing that character trait, just like, this is my superpower, and like realizing it. I knew I was funny very young, and I also always loved funny people. Like Robin Williams is my idol, like he is just, seems like the coolest, fucking funniest, wildest like person, hands down. So I just like, but like lovable and loved, like, and just cherished. And it's like, who doesn't want to be like loved and cherished like Robin Williams? Not that I'm like, whatever, necessarily on my way, but
this is,
I think in some small scope.
right. Side tangent to your story that we're already going to take a side quest here.
There will be branches.
Yes, many branch offs. Did you watch that Robin Williams documentary that's on HBO Max?
On HBO, I did.
It is very, very good.
It's super good.
It is like, and it was something that like I kind of saved on my list for a while.
For a moment when you could be vulnerable
Literally.
and alone and
that
like
was the genuine
with time to recoup. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Because I knew what I was going to get into.
You just planned that shit.
I literally did. I saved it, and there was so many times I scroll past. I'm like, man, like I want to watch this, but like I'm not ready for like the potential emotion that will come with watching this. And I probably sat on it for like close to a year.
Oh yeah,
probably.
I think so. Same. Even though I'm like a big fan. I just was like,
because you knew what you were getting into. Yeah, you knew what was going to come with that, and it delivered. So I guess I'll say that.
I found myself just like passed out with my heart like on the floor. It's just like, good Lord, this is beautiful and sad.
Yes.
But I kind of love that, and I feel like that's kind of where comedy even thrives, is in this like this conflict, like.
Well, like that's like I feel like one of the most interesting things to me about that documentary, and something that I knew, on the surface level, I knew, there's a sad part at some point, right? That's why something like that is hard to watch because you know the ending, what's coming, right?
Yeah.
There's not like, what's very clearly we know what's happening, and like for me. It wasn't just that, like, okay, I need to get ready to feel this about this person, but also the story being like how difficult it is to be a vulnerable artist of any sort and battling those emotions that everybody goes through, and in particular, people who create any sort of art really go through.
Sure, yeah.
And so, like, that was the other half that I was like, okay, like, I feel like I'm gonna, like, relate to a lot of what's about to be shared in these stories, and it's going to make it harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
that
nice
shared
in a
strife
sense.
is kind of what feeds the... It's a real bitch of like a almost requisite, It's like all the greats are just
right, and it's like
traumatized.
And it's like it's not fun to hear, but in a sense, it's like it's nice to like those are like the reminders of like, oh, it's not just me.
Sure, but it also makes sense, right? Because like if you're not dissatisfied with your reality, with your world, with your life, then like. You're not going to make too much of an effort to create another one, whether it be through word or music or, media or paint, whatever,
100%. Like you probably are not going to have that push to be like, I
need to get the fuck out of here.
Right. And then also like the other part of like, how can I make other people who might be feeling this not feel this less?
Yeah.
Of like, how can I make somebody laugh who might be having a bad day? Or how can I give somebody an awesome song or something to listen to while they're down? And it's like, then you, and somebody like him who, in that story, you really see like bared so much of that weight and so much of that pressure where he had that feeling of he always had to be, just like we started this episode with, the character, the performance, right? Yeah. He always had to be on. He felt like he always had to be performing. And that's something that, like, in a way,
be so tough,
like,
right?
Yes, like that has to be like, it's absolutely a battle. And I think it's in a way, it's a battle for everybody, even if you're a performer or something or not. Like, you always got to feel like you got to be on in certain moments. But I think, like, whether it's creativity or business or anything, everybody does sort of feel those things. And especially when you're sharing an art form, you always got to feel like, I got to be the thing that this person is expecting of me. And if I'm not, do I let them down in the process?
Like, all art is like therapy and a cry for help, all in one, and not to say like comedy's the hardest or anything, but I think there's, a lot of stage performance in particular. Like, I have a lot of theater background, also, very naturally driven to performance arts. And I feel like, comedy, you just get like flayed, you're just like here, even if you're not sharing something about yourself, but particularly if you are, like, excuse me, discussing like growing up, like poor, and making fun of like kind of the bit of the trashiness of my family as we were growing up, and hoping that, I don't catch shit from anybody for talking about how I felt like my family was shitty and shit on them for being trashy, and that sort of like high horsery that I developed as a way to try to get away from them. And but it's really interesting, I feel like you just put it all out there, but you have to stand there and watch people react to it in real time. And there's only one acceptable reaction. And so it's like, really, you got to find just like the sweetest spot for your words and your actions. And it's like it's everything. I always thought it would be cool to have a comedy show where you like can't see the comedians, and then I'm like, oh, that's a cartoon. Or a podcast.
Right. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be really cool?
You know what?
If we weren't bound by visual media or presence.
What if we just got rid of this? Let's just I'm going to turn off the cameras for the rest of this episode.
Oh no, please don't. It's really fine. That would like blow your whole shtick, but which is like honestly like a cool element of it, because I keep forgetting that they're really there.
Good, which is honestly great, even though I just reminded you. But yeah, I don't, anytime.
Yeah, I'm like cheating out, like
oh, anyway.
How's my job?
So great. This water is great. Anyway, sponsored by. Hopefully that water.
I turned it to the ingredients panel.
Good.
Like
no
nutritional
labels.
Facts.
Yes.
Label.
Nutritional facts only. No labels.
I don't think they're coming after us.
No, probably not. And
they
if they
should
did,
be so proud to be featured.
Thankful.
100%.
They should be thankful that they are on this show.
Yeah, you're welcome, Crystal Geyser, natural alpine spring water.
And if they do come after me, I'll have to bleep all that.
So
nobody knows actually what's happening.
I really don't want to be involved.
So hopping back in, you mentioned like dealing with all that growing up. You found the classic like being funny was the way to kind of like deal with anything going on, or also maybe was it like kind of like, hey, I'm finding something I'm good at. I'm finding the way that I fit in to a lot of things by like, cool, I get to be like the funny friend. If I'm funny, then my vulnerability is like, was that the thing, was being funny sort of like the almost safety net of like, sort of, you know what I mean? Like almost like a blockade up of like, if I'm funny, you can't do anything to me or nothing hurts. Like,
oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I also think like being funny and being quippy and being like on, and like, I love wordplay, and it, that it requires like, two simultaneous things of like active listening, but also like active processing, which doesn't leave a lot of room for other processing. So it was really just like a nice, I think, avoidance, like a little repressive structure or something, where I was just like, well, there's just simply not enough space for all these other thoughts and memories, or future thoughts or worries or anxieties or anything. So I've learned to chill the fuck out in my real life a lot more. That also comes, I think, with just like not being a kid anymore,
Right, yeah. Growing up and maturing and figuring out like, oh, this is how I can actually handle this problem. And then, all right, but how do I make a joke out of it later? Like, how do I use this for something later?
Yeah.
But there's also plenty of just probably bad things happening all the time anyway. Whether we've got a control on things or not, there's always something that's going to pop up that's like, oh, I can talk about that at another time.
Yeah.
So even like diving a little bit like deeper into that, like what was, you mentioned this a little bit, but like what was growing up like you said you moved around a lot. This is probably a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Like, is that moving around Ohio a lot, or is that like different states all over?
Mostly Ohio. And then when I was in second grade, my mom is just like the most frustratingly empathetic person who just absolutely is compelled to find the most broken individual to try to fix them. But that individual also has to be completely stubborn and 100% unwilling to change.
Okay.
And then that's just like her ideal partner. And they always just come along with a series of like bad decisions and poor money management and like, or just like, my mom working really hard to try to take care of some schlub that, is just a dickhead to her. And we had moved again, and we were staying in a motel, and I had missed the bus to my school, which was kind of fun because it was only like the third or fourth day, and on my first day, I threw up on a girl.
Oh,
I can digress for a moment. So
yes,
I'm in school, and we're in gym class, and it's the first time I had ever gone to a school where the gym classes were separated by sex, and then also you had to change. Like they had a curtain, like we weren't allowed to watch the boys play basketball, you know what I mean? And they couldn't watch the girls crochet anything? Or whatever the fuck they would let us do.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. We like.
Oh, okay.
We didn't play together. They separated the sexes for some reason in gym class.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
confusing.
why. We're second graders. Like we're what, 7?
Yeah.
We don't even have like secondary sex characteristics.
Nothing,
Like nothing is fucking happening.
Yeah,
like
just,
we all look the same.
Everyone's chasing the ball. That's all they're focused on. I'm like,
Every kid with long hair is a girl. Every kid with short hair is a boy. It doesn't matter what else is going on. Anyway, and I just already felt really nervous. And I think this is kind of in an age of me trying to be like, why do all of my crushes happen to be the girl cartoons, like all that sort of shit kind of starting to bud, and insecurities around like large groups of other girls and then having to change and not even having clothes to change. And I was just like, I don't feel good. And the gym teacher, who was also a woman, instructed like one of the older girls who was like her teacher age, who was a 4th grader, to like take me down to the nurse's office. And as we're walking down the hall, like she's trying to be kind and like nice. She's like, "You're new here, right?" And I'm like, she's like, "What? Are you having a nice time? Is everyone being nice?" Like she's being so kind, and I'm like, and I can just feel like sweat in my mouth, like it's just happening. And she turns and she's like, "What's your name?" Like she introduces herself. I do not remember her name because all I remember is like my head just being like, "Don't, please don't." And I just vomited like
wow,
with velocity right on this poor girl,
that is incredible.
Who fortunately was in like gym clothes, so she had like a change of clothes.
Yeah.
And then I ran into a custodian's closet for a minute until my teacher, whose last name sounded like Parakeet, but it could not possibly be Parakeet, could it? That's how I remember it.
Perfect.
Mrs. Parakeet came and got me out of the closet, and
wow.
So I wasn't super keen on like going back to school anytime soon anyway. I missed the bus. Oopsie.
Oh, no.
And was chilling in the motel, eating a can of raviolis, right out the can. And my grandpa knocks on the door. I think he had maybe been in communication with my mom, or maybe had not been in communication with my mom long enough that he grew concerned. So he drove up from Asheville, North Carolina, and like knocked on the door, and then was just like, "Why are you here?" It was like a weekday and school time hours. And I was just like, "Well, I missed the bus." And he's like, "Where is your mother?" And I was like, "I don't know. She wasn't there in the morning when I left. She might have gone to work. I don't know. I don't remember what she did. Maybe she didn't come back. Who knows?" And so he just told me to get my stuff, which was not much. My girlfriend makes fun of me. Are you I said girlfriend. No, she's going to fucking slap me. She is my fiance. We are getting married in a month and a half. I'm I'm sorry, you're going to have one less listener.
Immediately turned it off.
Kill it.
I'm going to be watching the live numbers.
Abort.
Wait, why do they keep turning it off around like 30 minutes?
What the fuck happened there? Time skip, wrinkle in time. Anyway, my fiance makes fun of me for being like Bob in his like childhood toys are like a rusty old spatula and like a melted soap thing. They weren't that bad, but she thinks that that's what my childhood is like when I describe it to her. And I'm like, it really wasn't that bad. Anyway, so I gather up my soap bar and my rusty spatula, and my grandpa just like takes me, and I just like moved down to North Carolina with him for a little bit until the state of Ohio was like, they're not your legal guardians. This is abduction.
Oh, wow.
So they like had to bring me back after like a year. But I loved Asheville. It was a cool place.
Was that like, do you remember at all? Like, was that a time frame where you were like, hey, things are okay at the moment?
I think it was the first time probably since birth that my little body went, like I could like fucking relax and not worry about like who's bashing in through a door somewhere or like, what's going on? Am I going to be able to steal enough camel bucks to get lunch money? Like it's just all the anxieties that like aren't a child's responsibility, you know?
Yeah. So what happens when the state of Ohio does show back up and they're like, hey, this isn't a thing you can just do?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that anything would have happened at all if at that time simultaneously my dad, who I had not really had a relationship with at all up until that point, so like 7, 8, was dating a woman who he later became engaged to. He's now married to now. She's a horrible sorceress of hate.
Right.
My stepmother. And she found out that, they talked about me, and she thought that he should have custody. And so he applied for custody. Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
And then I think in that process, they discovered I was no longer in the state of Ohio.
Okay.
And so that summer, my grandparents were like, whoop, shit, whew, like just like packed me up, back up, brought me. I came back with like way more fucking clothes and a lot more toys though. They like spoiled the shit out of me. I would just eat Bacos out of my hand after school. It was great. I got a little like pork belly. It looked like a fat spider. It was awesome.
Spider.
Like ate good, but really it was just like ramen and noodles and shit.
What is that
that
person
they let me
doing
have.
walking around with 3 rusty spatulas? And
Yeah, I was
snacks?
living rich. I had 3 rusty spatulas.
What is going on? So when you return home, like, do you then live with dad? Like, does dad get custody and everything, or how does that?
No, plot twist.
Okay.
So I was supposed to, I think it was just for like initial visitation. And then when my mom didn't show to court with my dad, they gave him custody. But before that, they gave after that, they gave a period of time where we had to like kind of get to know each other, because I hadn't ever really, I had no memory of my dad before that. So I was living with my brother's father, my mother's ex-husband.
Okay.
Who was also not my legal guardian, but was at least in the state of Ohio. So we lived on a farm for, like a summer and a year while my dad and I got acquainted.
Wow. Okay.
And sometimes he'd come by and sometimes he wouldn't. He was also like, he was relatively young. I was both 19 when I was born. So I think at this point, he's 27, what I mean? He was like just out of the Navy, like chef at a restaurant, so,
Right.
And I've like worked years in service industries. So that means that he was just like a fuck off, you know what I mean? Like he just drank and partied and was like not probably that fucking interested in having an 8-year-old.
Right.
So, yeah.
So how long does this like, not even necessarily like the directly like the custody thing, but like how long is that kind of like the balance of childhood, of like moving around and I'm living with this person, but I'm sort of living with this person, but this person has custody, but this person doesn't? Like, does that just go until you're 18 and can decide to do what you want? Like,
so once I moved with my dad, we had only moved 4 times. Yeah, 4. No, well, 5 times. I guess we moved 4 times. I had to go to a 5th school because one got closed down because of the asbestos.
Oh, good.
So,
okay, good.
It's Youngstown, Ohio.
Okay.
That's where I'm from. Dirty 330. What's up? And so I had less shuffling, you know what I mean? And the shuffles were not surprises. They were like plans. Like when I first moved in with them, they were living in like a Section 8 like condo or like townhouse or whatever you call it. Mm-hmm. And then they moved into like a small rented house, and then up, and they bought a house.
Okay. And then so how long does that go on?
Until I was like 18, and then I
it was.
Yeah. I the last time I moved, I was partway through my junior, like had just started my junior year.
So, like when you're like, obviously like so much of the story that we were just talking about was, you know, in 2nd grade, you puke on the girl and you're like, hey, let's, you know, we're in a motel.
You're like, so when did you fucking make any friends? Because it sounds like strikes out, homie.
Surprisingly enough, that is not the next question. But like, you know, so much of that was when you were very young, and you kind of just shared that like this pretty much was how life's structure or lack thereof was until I was 18 and could make my own decisions. As you're getting older and you're becoming more aware of what is happening, you're more aware of, it's not just, oh, the other adult in my life is telling me to do this thing and I'm going to go stay with them. That's just what I do. Like, obviously at some point we all become aware enough of being like, okay, I'm starting to piece together what's happening around here. Like, I know that's a very, very specific question, but like when did that start to happen? Like, did it happen young when you were like, wait, I know what's up?
Yeah. I knew what an eviction notice looked like from a block and a half away. You know what I mean? Like I still to this day hate when like a friend comes by and puts like a little note on my door, because if I see anything taped to my door and it's unexpected, I have an immediate like visceral panic response. Like I am just like, oh fuck. You know, I even once, like 7 years ago, I was nearly wrongfully evicted by an elderly landlord who just like could not keep his tenants straight, his whatever. And so he put an eviction note, like a 3-day notice on my door. And I panicked and I kept calling him and he wasn't returning my calls. And then finally, after I packed up all my stuff and like planned to get a U-Haul, he like calls me on the 3rd day and I was like, oh, I was like, I have like bank statements indicating that I've paid. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you've cashed these checks. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me, dude.
Oh.
I just busted my ass tearing down my whole apartment. And I lived alone, but I'm like, you know, I have all my shit there. It's a lot of shit. And I just did it like basically by myself out of panic when a few friends would come over, but then we would just get stoned and I would just like bitch and cry for like 45 minutes because I was like going to have to move in with my then girlfriend who was like not the greatest. You know, I was like, oh man, this just like all fucking sucks. What is happening? And then it was like he meant someone else. He had the wrong address.
So that's
but he had my
least,
address and information, like name and everything on there. So like, he just was like, "Oh, sorry. Well, I don't know what that is." And I was like, "Oh
well, you're
God.
Like, you don't know,
you need to pass it on, sir."
Literally the trauma response that you just had me
I
in
just
for the last 3
just
days.
was like shaking for like 72 hours, and then he was like, "Oh, whoopsie."
It's my bad.
And
You're
if I had any like guts, I would be like, listen, you old turd.
Right.
You scared the shit out of me. Like, I did not appreciate that. Like, you need to get your affairs in order. Although that could be misconstrued as like a death threat. Get your affairs in order. He's like, she's going to fucking kill me.
Figure something out.
I get it. It was scary, but damn.
Like, I don't know why they said it was a death threat. I said, figure something out or I'll kill you. And I was like, wait, I don't know why I took
Get
that
your
the
shit
wrong
together or
way.
die.
Like, I gave him options. It wasn't an actual threat.
But I did move. I did not renew my lease. So
fair. Yeah. Very fair to just go somewhere where hopefully they were just like, we're not going to like scare you to death.
We're not going to get our Rolodex confused or out of order. Or whatever
weird.
might have happened there.
So when was it like? When do you feel like you started having? And I'm going to ask this, and I don't mean this to sound as negative as it might sound, but like, when do you feel like you started actually kind of like having control over your like own kind of individual life? When did it stop being like, oh, I'm being pulled in this direction and that direction by, again, like the adults or, you know, my dad or my mom or whoever?
Yeah. I would say I probably thought when I was 18 and I graduated high school, and about a month or so later, my parents just started getting, my dad and my stepmom just started getting really weird. I had come out to them kind of by force somewhat recently, and they seemed like they were cool. Everyone was like, oh yeah, we know, no surprise there, la la la. And I was like, okay, this isn't, I still don't trust this, but whatever, sure. Okay, this is nicer than I expected. And then it just like sly, weird comments and dumb shit, you know, like my dad one time too, my girlfriend at the time and I, we had like gone to play tennis together and came back to my house. I was going to take a shower and change and go to the movie or some shit, I don't know. And he was like, why are you going to save water and take a shower together? And I was like, ew, Dad, why the fuck would you say that? That's so gross.
Yeah.
Like, one of these lesbians is your daughter, you dumbass. Like, what are you like? That's hot. Oh, wait. You know, you fucking idiot. And it's like, and I'm sure to this day, like, if I were to ask him, which we don't speak to each other, what a surprise. But I'm sure he would be like, oh, no, I wouldn't say something like that. That's, and I'm like, yeah, sure. Because you hear my tone when I repeat it back to you.
Right, yeah.
But you absolutely said it. Why would I remember that? You know, why would I make that up? Or like my stepmom one time, I had two half sisters with my dad and stepmom. And one of them was like playing with two naked Barbies, as children are often ought to do, because that's how Barbies operate.
Yeah.
The clothes come off easy and then you can't get it past their fucking thumbs after that. So
Right.
like they just stay fucking naked until you like scribble on them or something. I don't know.
Right.
But she was carrying like two Barbies whose arms were like, you know, like they weren't even scissoring, which I should have, if I had any guts, I would be like, well, were they scissoring or what? Because later she accused me of having sex in the house with my girlfriend and my sisters seeing us. And I was like, first of all, you never leave the house. Secondly, ew, no, that's absolutely like, thirdly, you never leave the house.
Yeah.
I don't watch the children because you're obsessed with them. You never leave them and you never leave the house. So like, no, why would this ever happen? Little kids are bound to just walk around with naked dollies. Like, it is the inevitability of dollies.
Yeah, there's not like an ulterior, like, I can't believe you did this thing that
Yes.
showed them this thing.
And the
because that
sister at
must
the
be-
time was like 4? No, maybe 5. Maybe 5. They have no concept of even what is going on, you know? And I was just like, what? She was like, I don't believe you. And I was like, this is really insane. And so it just started to like kind of seep out the like obvious like homophobia, you know, and like there were you know, so many red flags, like very, very bigoted, will freely use the N-word if someone cuts them off in traffic.
Okay.
Like, you know, that sort of stuff. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't think you realize you're not cute, you know?
Yeah, no, that's not.
It's not a good look, honey.
No,
You
not
know?
things you just say and not how you just treat people.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
So clearly, like, even coming out was like another layer of just like, okay, that like this is now driving another sort of like wedge in between me and the family because of how they're acting.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and my stepmother and I had a wedge early on. We just fundamentally are very different people. I enjoy joy and happiness and levity, and she enjoys sourness, tanning, and Virginia Slim Ultralight Menthol 120s.
Okay.
That's maybe not menthol anymore. I hear they're nixing that from the market. They should. It's a terrible product.
Probably, yeah.
Racially motivated marketing is bad. Any hoozle. Yeah, we've just never gotten along. She's very, very femme, but in a way that is like not fashion conscious or like hip to anything, like always on the tail end of like the worst, you know, lowest common denominator trend of like things, She still duck faces in Facebook pictures when I see her.
Is there like a big like live, laugh, love cutout in the house anywhere?
I'm sure there probably is.
Okay.
Which all of those things are hilarious, Like, I'm sure there's no laughter.
I will say, before you continue, it does sound like we had at one point in time, very similar stepmoms.
Oh, do we have the same stepmom?
We might have had the same.
Her name's Sharon.
Oh, well, no, not the same anymore.
Oh, okay.
My stepmom's name was Tracy, so it's
Tracy.
I guess different. But that was, because like I also had...
It's her vibe.
that was her vibe, without like the duck face and all that sort of stuff,
Sure.
because this was long enough ago that those things didn't really, I guess, exist.
Oh, yeah. No, she's implying that now in 2022 is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like very tail,
extra behind
really,
it, yes.
really
Okay.
coattailing trends.
Well, like that's the thing is like I also had pretty young parents, and pretty early on, my dad had found me a stepmom who just was not prepared to be a parent,
Yes.
and tried to be one by just, I think, being the best version of a dictator that she could be. And
Way to go.
and thought, and I hate, I hate even joking about this stuff, because I don't want it to be like, oh yeah, this fucking person's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But like growing up, she definitely made my life pretty terrible in a lot of ways. And she was definitely like hugely like mentally abusive. Like that was the thing. But like in my case, like experiencing so much of that, I think the good that came from it is that it showed me how to not be.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. It showed me like,
yeah.
oh, I don't like this. This
Yeah.
makes me feel terrible. I'm
Looks like a
terrified of
monster
this
right now.
person.
Yeah.
This is what a monster is like. So now I know how I don't want to treat people or make them feel or interact with other people. But in general, sounds like we had somewhat, at least maybe similar cases, in the sense of just simply, hey, had a bad stepmom for a while. Luckily, she is no longer in the family and all that sort of stuff. So got past that at some point.
Nice. I thought you were going to say no longer with us. I was like, ooh, bold. That's really funny to cap that with. I don't really want to speak ill of this person, but thank God she's dead.
She's no longer with us.
She's not, and we're happy she isn't.
She is alive. She is elsewhere doing her thing, and it is totally fine. It's more than okay. But yeah, it is that, it's weird to have that in the house, because, and again, like that's even why I'm asking about like what the process even was like of, coming out to them and all that sort of stuff, because if you're already, because at a very baseline, I can remember how uncomfortable literally anything was for me around this person. And I'm talking anything. Seeing a B on my homework, I knew the world was going to end. If she found out I had a third grade crush on a girl at school, she was going to bully me for having a crush on a girl. Like all these sort of things. So like in my mind,
suckers.
Yes, like I think back to those and I'm like, man, I was terrified to do anything. So, and then you even saying like, yeah, it was kind of like forced into coming out to them, or they made all these like sideways comments and stuff like that to me, like, because I have not experienced that, I am like, man, like, again, just like, what was even that process like? Like, was it a thing that like they, like, I think you jokingly said this earlier, like everyone was like aware before.
Yeah. And the thing is like, when you have a part of you that you feel like is supposed to be secret, but you suspect everyone kind of already knows, but the way that they speak about other people who have that part of them makes you understand that they don't like those people. They think they're repugnant, So then you're like, well, why would I want to share that about me? And then when you do, and they go, oh, I knew that, then you just reel and you're like, wait, so have you just like not liked me this whole time? Like, well, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like, if you knew that about me, how could that not have maybe informed your opinion of others? Or why, I mean, not like, why did you treat me worse? But like, why, you know what I mean? Like, why?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just such a strange like switch. And then like my coming out story, it was truly a dark and stormy night. In high school, I worked in the kitchen of a nursing home, and my girlfriend worked with me there as well. one night, it was pouring. It was major storm. We had her mom's van for the evening, and she informed me that all the seats had been removed from the back.
Nice.
And I was like, oh,
Plenty of room, huh?
my goodness, I'll scoop these taters much more quickly. Shove it down, Edith. I got plans. Because it was kind of once we wrapped up dinner service, our duties were complete. We were welcome to clock out and leave.
Okay.
We could stretch it if we wanted to, whatever. So we clocked out just a little early, made our way to the van, and had teen sex, and then it ended up being a little later than we thought, as is typical, and we separated. I drove home. My parents immediately just berated me on what was going on. Where was I? What was I doing? And I was like, well, the power went out at the nursing home. I lied. And we had to stay a little later to try to help out. And it took us longer to complete our closing tasks because of this huge storm. And there was power outages all over town. And so it seemed like a viable, I was like, way to go, Ange. Fuck, yeah, that's good. That's
you didn't say that out loud, though.
No, I didn't know that. The ruse is exposed.
You explained
Veil
the
has
story.
lifted.
Hey,
And I'm yeah, they bought it.
Well, we're still here.
Yeah, truly. No, I felt was pretty good about it, whatever. And I went upstairs to change out of my scrubs, and my dad, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, calls me down. He's like, Ange, can you come down into the kitchen, please? And I was like, okay. And then, we're talking, and he looks at me and he's like, why did you lie to me? And I was like, what? And he was like, why did you lie to me? And instead, I should have said, because I don't feel like I can be vulnerable and authentic around you without incurring mental strife minimum, emotional agony and maybe physical harm. I don't know. You're I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Eruptious dude. I mean, he didn't beat me, that sort of thing, but he definitely is been oh, I'm so mad at this door right now, and you're like, cool. Sorry that door pissed you off so hard.
Right.
And so finally, I was like, well, the power is out. I try to double down, and he's like, I just spoke to your aunt, his sister, who's the administrator of the nursing home I work for. And she informed him that all medical facilities are in fact required to have a backup generator to support emergency health systems. And so I was so fucked. So he relays that to me. And he's like, I just got off the phone with your aunt. And I was like, oh my God, but you're such a psycho. Why did you have to fucking call her?
Yeah.
Why couldn't you have been okay, she was doing something. I was a good kid. I never fucking did anything. You know what I mean? I was straight A student, top of my class fucking nerd, speech and debate, sports, all the shit, after school job. You know what I mean? Not ever a fucking problem. Why do you need to check up on me? Because you're just bored and you don't have any fucking hobbies. Oh my God, get a coloring book, Dad.
Right.
Oh my God. So he forces me out. And he's like, I need you to tell me the truth. And I'm like, okay, fine. Because he was going to take my driving privileges away from me, even though I was 18 at this time. Actually yet to be 18, 17. And he, gets it out of me eventually. I was like, okay, and I still lie because I'm still not comfortable enough to look my parents in the eye and in the same sentence say I am gay and I was having gay sex. That's a compounded, that's a heavy load to bear. So I was like, I am dating Megan, and we got in an argument at work, and we just wanted to talk about it and not go home mad at each other. So we just sat in the parking lot and talked about it. And then they were like, oh, okay. Why didn't you just tell us that? Which is the shittiest thing for a person who psychologically manipulates you into silence. To be like, why didn't you just share that, honey? Why don't you just go set yourself on fire, Sharon?
Definitely had my fair share of those sort
are
of
you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
What Because everything about you is daggers, you know,
Right.
that's why.
Yeah, because I'm not comfortable enough to share anything with you. And the fact that, like, when this conversation started, it didn't start with, like, hey, I'd really like to talk about, you know, maybe it was backing me into a corner saying, why did you lie?
I did my investigative work on this thing that really could have just been a non-issue, but I can't let anything rest.
Had my fair share of
And I don't know what they thought I was doing. It's not like I came home like fucking smelling like weed. I rarely smoked weed. I like hardly ever drank. I did like nothing.
That's what I was going to say. Like, if you
teenager.
pulled up to the house and like rammed the front porch with your car.
Probably, oh my God.
Stumbled in. You're like, hey, what's up? Like,
Ross, in this very moment, just thought that I probably smelled like pussy. And I think they were like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm just like, la-da-da-da-da.
They're like, what's that smell? And you're like, the power was out at the old folks' home.
The power was out,
I was
and we were going to serve
some
clams.
of the old ladies, and I tripped and I fell.
Yeah.
And that happened to fall into one of their beds. I don't know. Like,
that's so silly.
That's honestly
that had not
incredible.
occurred to me, but that I suspect.
I
may be
love
the cause.
that has come to light now. Of like, wait a second. Now that I really think about it,
This is eye-opening because I am 37. It has been 20 years since I came out. I have racked my mind over the years over like what even inspired their doubt. You know, like I didn't usually lie about anything because I didn't usually do anything. I didn't ask to go anywhere because I knew the answer was no. So like I just didn't fuss about it. I can't believe that hadn't occurred to me. That's so funny.
I am just very happy that this moment has been captured
right
for a podcast.
There we go. Bless it.
Who needs therapy when you've got podcasts, right? That's a fair trade. You can just sit and be like, I'm going to tell all these crazy stories about this stuff. And wait a second, now I'm going to uncover what was
and
really happening.
we have an archive of it now as well.
Exactly.
When I forget.
Yeah, you can listen back to it at any point. It's like, oh yeah, that is what happened. So that sort of, you know, that moment happens. Is there any, I feel like I know the answer, but like, is there any part of you that feels any more comfortable that you've at least been like, cool, I have been able to even subtly own who I am and share it with my family? Or was it like, fuck, well, now I know that since they're shitty about most things, they're probably going to be shitty about this continuously. Like,
you know, honestly, I feel like because they pulled off being relatively cool, like they just seemed like nonplussed at first, which was really nice. Like it just seems like nothing major. And I was like, that's cool. And then they became kind of like, it twisted into being like too cool about it, you know, and I just like didn't need to, and not like too cool in the sense of like my stepmom being like, I've considered experimenting with women, and be like, ew, don't talk about it. Not like that. It was whatever. It was just like, oh, will you be seeing Megan today? What do you know what I mean? And we were making plans for like prom now that we were like out to our parents, and her family did not react well at all. They put her in therapy.
Oh.
And like forbade her from seeing me for like a couple months.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
And I was like, we go to school together. Like we still saw each other. Like,
right. Yeah.
We're on all of the same activities together.
Right.
That's how we met. Like that's how high schoolers meet.
Yeah. How do you think this came to be? Like, yeah.
But sure, whatever. I guess we can't hang out after school. And then I forked their lawn. It was so stupid. I forgot about that too. My friends and I were like, how dare they? I think we forked bigot into their lawn.
That's honestly incredible. Love that.
For those of you listening, if you're unfamiliar, forking a lawn is when you buy a whole bunch of absolutely terrible for the planet plastic forks and shove them all over someone's front lawn, like by the hundreds.
Sometimes it has to happen.
And then they have to go around and pull them out or whatever. Yeah, they can think about it.
How did they react to that? Do you know? Do you know what happened when they found out? Were they like,
I mean,
oh,
she said that they knew it was me.
Yeah,
and I was like, what? Gave it away?
No
Who would be
way.
so petty?
What, me? I stayed over late at work. The power went out. wasn't there.
These storms, man.
Yeah, these storms
Wild.
are crazy lately.
Really
you
impeding
guys.
my social life.
As you're standing there, as they confront you, and you have a fork in your hand. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
So, like, you have that, a continuation of sort of like the whatever balance with parents.
Yeah.
After everything, and like,
Yeah.
So like, when do you? And I think we touched on this earlier a little bit, but like, when do you like finally move out, and when do you
Yeah.
get that moment where you're like, was it a stress relief of like, yes, I'm now taking on the responsibilities of an adult life, which is difficult for everybody, but
Yeah.
cool, now I'm getting to like finally just be in my own environment, do my own thing.
Yeah. So I moved out earlier than expected. So when I left, when I graduated high school, my initial plan was to go to work my way to medical school to study psychiatry. And so I had a focus of neuroscience. And then I changed my mind, and I decided I wanted to go to school for theater and become an actor. And so I kind of did a whole flip and changed a research focus on where to go. I settled on auditioning for Point Park, which is like a top private conservatory of performing arts in the country, and also very expensive. And I couldn't really afford to go, but I didn't really give a shit. And I was talking to my parents about it, and they wouldn't help me like co-sign for a loan. They refused. And I was like, okay, well, this is going to be way harder than I thought. And then on top of that, my stepmom was like, and also I think you need to start paying rent now that you're an adult and you're not in high school anymore. I was like, I have not been in high school anymore for 3 weeks.
Right.
I had a short deadline to like cancel classes I was intending to make without losing money. You know what I mean? Like I was like, flip the switch. I'm out. Let's go for it. Fucking theater. Like let's just fucking do it. Follow my dreams. And so I would like had so little time, and I certainly had so little money that I didn't need to be paying my parents rent for just a few more months. And so I left in the middle of the night. I told them that I wanted to move out, and then they were being weird about me taking any furniture they bought. They're like, don't think you get to take any of that furniture. We paid for it. I was like, it's my furniture. Also, I can't take it. My bed was a huge water bed, like from the fucking 80s with like drawers underneath. No apartment anywhere is going to let me take that fucking thing. And it weighs 900 pounds.
Yeah, you're not sneaking out in the middle of the night with that.
No, I'm not sneaking out in the middle of the night. And the only thing that was mine was my now at the time very old Sega that I had since I was a kid, and a shitty TV that was my graduation present, and it was my parents' old TV from their bedroom, boxed in the new TV's box that they bought for the living room. And I was like, oh, magic.
So you got the pleasure of unboxing.
Yeah. It's a lot to follow, but yeah, it was quite the treat. No,
I think
it
I
was
just
tricky.
saw this the other day.
Yeah.
No.
Anywho, so I packed up some of my stuff that I wanted to take, and I left them a very lengthy, admittedly like tear-stained letter, and I put my car in neutral, and I backpedaled out of the driveway, and I left, and I've literally never been back. I went and stayed the night at my friend's house, and then I went and stayed the rest of the summer with my grandparents, and I moved to Pittsburgh and went to Point Park. My aunt co-signed for me, which I'm sure she regrets because I was making no money trying to pursue theater, and she had to pay most of my student loans.
So
bless you, Aunt Chris.
Was pursuing theater, I know you kind of jokingly said like, follow my dreams, like, but was that kind of like the lingering dream of doing something in the theater entertainment world? Or was it just like, I would rather do this than...
I think I chose to study theater because I wasn't aware of the best avenue. I thought it was maybe the best avenue for me to get to act and write for TV, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to write and act in a sitcom. It was like my dream. Not necessarily so much anymore, if I can admit. Now that I like learn more of like everything that is involved and all that goes on, and the likelihood of having like any fucking autonomy and like writing, I just like, oh shit, man, never mind.
Right,
I'll find other avenues.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how I just stumbled into theater, stand up, which I didn't start until I was 30.
Okay. So what's the rest of that timeline like when you're
Between 18 and 30.
basically of like going to college for theater and all that. Like, did you complete college for that? Was it a point in time where you're like, nope?
I completed 3 years, and then I couldn't continue to afford a fourth. And I was also, so the whole, like, kind of the beauty of going to those schools is they really have connections in industry to like get you working supposedly like right out of school. And eventually, like, by my third year, I had gone on some touring shows. I spent a summer running improv for Caribbean Cruise Lines. Like, I was like in this mentality of like, why the fuck would I pay $38,000 a year for something to learn to do that I'm already doing? Which was like really not the attitude, but also I just flat out couldn't afford to go. And I think I was trying to find some like justification. Like, I've already gotten all of the knowledge I need, which is, I've always been a smarty pants, and it's also an area where I always got like rewarded or like acknowledged. And like, so I really leaned into that. And then I think I leaned a little too far by the time I became like a teenager, because I just felt like I don't need anybody's fucking advice. I got it.
Right.
I got it from here, which in reality, I had like no fucking idea what I was doing.
Very teenage thing.
And tried to like live on my own in Pittsburgh, getting on shows here and there, like picking up small like community theater shit that like really doesn't pay, and you also aren't really supposed to do if you're trying to get accredited. And so it's just like all sorts of scrambling, I think, for about a year. And I just like exhausted my funds, and my aunt, who I would rely on periodically to be like, Aunt Chris, I need like $150 for rent. I'm so fucked. She would be like, I got you. Fine. No worries. I was like, Aunt Chris, like, I need all of the money for rent. I'm fucked. And she's like, you sure are. And like, she had exhausted her. And I get it. At the time, she was like also, I think maybe only in her late 30s, like probably my age now. And I would definitely tell like an 18-year-old niece, like, who I'd already given hundreds of dollars and signed for thousands to fuck off, So I had to move back to Youngstown to figure out what I needed to do. Like, I found somebody to sublet my apartment, said bye to my roommates and Pittsburgh friends, and moved back into my mom's house. And it was a nightmare. Her husband's kind of a drunk asshole. So it was not peaceful for a bit until I came to Columbus and studied neuroscience.
So even
like the original plan.
So even in that timeline, like when you're living in Pittsburgh and everything, like, had you stayed in decent contact with your mom, or was it just sort of like,
So my mom and I rekindled our relationship. Kind of, I came out to my mom before I came out to my dad and stepmom, actually.
Okay.
So my mom and my aunt knew. Since I was probably like 3. They were also like, yes, and. But in a much more pleasant way, like, Ange, honey, we know, we see. And so they got getting to just kind of talk with her about that, like in early high school. Like, I was like probably like 15, because she would like take me to practice driving. So right around then, maybe like 15, we started developing a better relationship that I maintained until I moved back in with her. And then her husband and I would just get into it. Like, he's just an asshole. He hits her. He's just a dick. I mean, he doesn't anymore, or whatever the fuck. But then he definitely fucking did. And I was feeling emboldened by, I'm out now, like I don't give a shit. I'm making my way. I moved to another city on my own. Like I sort of made it for a while. Like I felt like I had gotten the hustle and grind down a little bit. And so I would just stand up to him and be like, shut the fuck up. Like, stop. He would just say the N-word and be like, you need to not talk like that in front of me. Like, wouldn't that be awesome? Like, shut up. You're such an ignorant asshole. And then one night, he came back drunk. He was really getting into it. My mom had a frequent habit of sleeping in her car to avoid the bullshit and let him just like storm around the house being like, because he's not going to like bash the windows of the car because it's going to draw the police who are just going to come in for about 15 minutes, be like, well, now, come on now, and then just fucking leave.
Right.
And be like, he's definitely not going to hit her now. He's certainly not even more fucking pissed. Yeah. Stupid fucking fuck the police. Fuck the police. I don't know why I whispered that. Just for dramatic effect, really, more than anything, not lack of conviction. And so in this night, like I was staying there, he's pounding on the walls, just like being a absolute spaz. And so I open the door and I'm like, what is your fucking problem? Go to bed. It's like 4 a.m. And he shoves me and I punch him. And we just go at it, and we're just like tossing and turning all over the place. He pulls me in a little bathroom, like cracks the toilet with my noggin. Like I grab my little pocket knife out and I'm trying to like stab him, but it's just like so sticky and coated in like weed resin because it's used to like scrape my bulb, and I'm just like not successful. Finally, he like lets go of me. I go through the door or go back into that room. I shut the door and I knock they had a big fucking filing cabinet in there for some reason full of books. I don't know. I think whatever. And I knock it over and I open the window and I grab my cell phone and I like hop out and I call the cops. And so the cops come and they actually did arrest him, I will say, they this time. But they also like kept asking me like, well, do you want us to arrest him? I was like, I absolutely, like my mouth is bleeding, like my eye is bleeding. I was like, I absolutely want you to arrest this man. He fucked me up, you know what I mean? Like, like what is, yes.
Yeah, could you just give
why
him
are
a
you
stern
asking me
talking to,
for guidance here? Just I don't know, just pinch his buns, goose him real fast.
Tell him if he does it again, he's grounded.
Yeah, right? So stupid. So they arrest him, and ultimately I, filed charges against him. He went to jail for a small bit. I filed a restraining order against him, which would result in, which the judge informed me with absolutely no hint of give a damn, that if I am staying with my mother at her house and his name is on the house as well, like it's on utilities, it's technically his residence, so I need to vacate if I have a restraining order against him. I was like, I'm sorry, what? So like if I wanted to stay there, I would break the restraining order. Okay. And it would like nullify. And I'm like, that doesn't, he's like, well, I can't enforce it if you live in the same house. I'm like, well, then obviously he needs to not live in that house, which seemed the logical solution. My mother also disagreed in the sense that she was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to tell him. And I was like, how about you tell him that you pay 100% of all of the bills and utilities here, and sometimes he just pays for cigarettes. Wow. What a supporter, what a provider. And like, this is my fucking house and this is my fucking daughter. And she's moving in like 2 months, like go stay somewhere else under a rock. I don't care, you troll. But she didn't. And so that caused a rift between us. I once again moved out, stayed with a friend for a couple months. And then I moved to Columbus to go to Ohio State and finish school for neuroscience.
So how does that go? How does the move to Columbus and all that, like, is that at all like a fresh-ish start?
Actually, now that you mention it, not really. I forgot. I found my roommate on Craigslist because my friend from home bailed on me. Her name was Mandy. I doubt she'll hear it, so I don't care. She was not super nice and ended up like not actually paying any of the rent with my money and stuff. So we got an eviction notice, and I was like, what the fuck? She was nuts. Like, she got these 2 kittens and then like left for an extended weekend. And I also wasn't home a lot because it was like college, and I was just like, I'm just gonna crash on my friend's couch like all the time because I don't like my roommate. She's like kind of weird. And then one day I came home to like the apartment, and these 2 little kittens were just dead in the hallway. It was so fucking sad. And I called her and she was like, can you just like scoop them up and put them in the trash? And I was like,
oh my
no,
God.
I will give them a burial. And so I
Dude.
gave them a little burial by the tracks because we lived like, like at the edge of 13th on campus, like by the railroad tracks. So
Okay.
I dug a little hole and like lit a little candle. And I was like, sorry, little kitties that I never even knew were here. I think she just like didn't feed or water them she thought I was going to be home. And I was like, I didn't know you snagged some kitties.
That is wild.
And also, you should talk to me about it. Like, what if I had a severe allergy, you twat?
Right. Yeah, well, yeah, it doesn't sound like she was thinking about
No,
much.
I don't think she was thinking about anything. She was a strange person.
in
and
those cases-
definitely a Craigslist roommate,
No, that's a Craigslist roommate
I was like,
story for sure.
you were looking for a roommate on Craigslist because you don't have any fucking friends. Like, I get it now. Oh, mistake. So I didn't live there for very long. I moved out, and then I had, throughout college, moved, kind of done the friends who want to live together shuffle and like friends who like are sick of each other shuffle. No like bad blood or anything, but whatever. And I've been in Columbus since and had a couple moves that weren't the sweetest in terms of like, living with partners prematurely and, making that mistake. And I just like fucking hate moving. So anytime I have to do it, I'm like,
Right.
But Katrina and I, that's my partner, now we rent from our friend, like this real super cute house in the hilltop. We intend to keep renting because the plan is to try to move to Malta, like to get out of this country because it's fucking scary.
Totally
and I
understandable.
like to consider myself to be an optimist, but I do not think things are going to get better soups fast. And I'm already 37. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be like 50 and be like, finally, I can be free in my nation where I pay taxes,
Yeah.
now finally fix my knees. Thanks, universal health care. Like, no, I would like the years to just start rocking sooner than later.
Yeah. You're 60. You're like, oh, now I'm allowed to get sick. All right. Now I don't have the threat of
right?
death around every corner of. Okay, so.
I know. Sorry, that was like a whirlwind of info.
that is perfect. I now want to dive into like, when does the decision of stand up happen in all of this? Because like, as an outsider to this story, obviously hearing it for the very first time, in my mind it doesn't ever sound like there was like too long of a period that it feels like you got to just sort of almost decompress in a way. And I'm not saying you didn't ever have a good day or something, but like, it doesn't sound like there was like, oh, and then finally this entire 3 years I got to just live life and I didn't have to find dead kittens in my hallway from a Craigslist roommate.
It took a while. I would say honestly, I feel like maybe the last it's so silly. I was going to say 7 or so years, and I realized that exactly aligns with when I started stand up. But probably around that time. I think there was a valve released or something, a little bit. So maybe that's where I'm like, oh yeah, there was still stressful shit happening, still like later on having like partners I probably shouldn't have lived with or, whatever. Friends that turned out to be like nuts, like that sort of stuff that you navigate as you get into adult life, sort of. And I think that just really helped just alleviate some of the anxieties and stress because I'm a like super anxious person and I try not to be, but it's like squirrel brain. And it's not anxious in the sense of like always being worrisome. It's just anxiety in the sense of like constantly a buzz, like just always like
thinking
just like ding,
of,
ding, ding, yeah.
Yes,
So I try to tone it down, and I think I've gotten to tone it down. I think my 30s have been pretty fucking great, honestly.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, and I think it does go like it's you saying it kind of coincides with when you around the time that you kind of stepped into stand up and everything. It's like, okay, well, yeah, then you had kind of a thing to almost really express yourself in and really focus on of like, yeah, you were going to school and all this other stuff, but it's like, then you had kind of like you were saying, like the pressure valve had been, turned or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm getting to focus some energy into something that is a larger goal or something that's like creating something rather than just like expending my energy on trying to maintain the chaos around me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it got to go somewhere. At least that's what it sounds like.
And it definitely took, I think, me feeling like I had my head above water before I could really have the room to like approach comedy. It was, you know, admittedly not something I had absolutely considered or thinking I would be a talent at. I always initially thought that the team sport of acting in, you know, in groups was where it was at. But I also wasn't particularly interested in improv anymore. That's not because I don't like improv. I know a lot of comedians don't. I know it's like a real divisive point. I don't really. I think it's fun. It's fine. It's whatever.
I love improv. I mean,
I think it's a wonderful brain exercise. Like, and honestly, like people who are good at improv, I'm like, you're so fucking smart and talented. Like, awesome. Like, you're so awesome. But doing improv on a cruise line, you know, it's like, give me a suggestion. You're like, drunk and in the wrong room. And you're like, oh, for the 800th fucking time.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't, there's nothing filling my cup there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what the hell was I even talking about now?
Like just the path to starting stand-up.
Oh, so I was working at Screened, which was like a print company that used to exist here in Columbus. It was kind of like the like proto Jenny's, where everyone, like all of the alt hipster kids, all like worked at Jenny's, they all like worked at Screened. So it was just like a bunch of like cool cats and artsy folks, and I felt like, you know, they were fun to fit in with. Half of them were like Xenos kids, and then I was like, oh shit,
wait a second,
you're like a mirage, you know? You think like it's something like cool and nice and inviting, and then you're like, oh my god, you're a psycho uber Christian,
right,
like reading all the wrong messages between the lines. Anyway, it was just like kind of a crowd of people. I think it was my first group of like real after college adult friends, because I decided I did not want to go to graduate school. I didn't know that. I was like, I don't think I want to go to medical school. I don't think I want to do this. I still think I want to like write or create or do something. And so it felt good, and it was kind of really invigorating to be around other creatives who felt like they were all in bands or they were artists or, you know, whatever. And like this was like a decent paying job that they got to hang out with a lot of their friends at. Like everybody got kind of hired through a chain of knowing someone. And my friend, who's also a comedian in town, Jameson Rogers, he likes to point out I was his boss, which I always say he was one of my team members, because I'm such a like cheesy manager like that. I'm like, we're all a team, guys, come on. It's fine. We can all hold the steering wheel at the same time. I get a little overly democratic in my decision-making processes, but it was really great working there for the most part. And he and I would just hang out. I smoked at the time, as did like everyone who worked there, and we would go out on many smoke breaks and hang out afterward and grab drinks and stuff. And he was like, "You're so funny. Like you should just do stand up. Like I think you could like write something and just do it. Like just come and do it." And so on my 30th birthday, he was like, like for your birthday, I'm getting you signed up on a open mic list. And I was like, okay, all right, fine. Like I would rather be prepared. So like, let's do this. And I went to the Shrunken Head Monday night, which was hosted by Nick Glasser at the time. And I went up and I didn't bomb. And I felt, I think, like higher than I ever fucking have in my whole like I was just like, I don't know if the stage ends. I think I'm just on clouds now. Like I'm at stage height like the whole time. It was just like the raddest experience up until that point. So it's just like this is the stuff. Yeah. This is my hot, sexy love right here.
Well, that's exactly, I mean, you answered the next question that I had on my mind, was like what it felt like to finally go up there and express yourself that way and tell some jokes and get some laughs and simply not bomb, is a win. That's a win.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what. But I mean, you pretty much answered that question of like, so that like you did walk away from that feeling like you were on like the figurative cloud nine sort of thing, where you're like, okay, something worked there.
I was like, what's the Twitter pated, right? Isn't that the word in Bambi where they're all like spring horny?
I don't remember.
I was like uncontrollably like vibrating with just my cup had not just filled but like overflowed.
That's so
like
cool.
just completely overflowed. Just it was the most awesome experience. And I had like I had a lot of theater experiences. I had been on like large stages, and it was just something really different. And I think I realized like fuck a team sport. You know what I mean? Like maybe I can just like be a solo star for a little bit and see how that feels. And
Right.
it's been great.
So, after that, like how do you even get the wheels turning on becoming a stand-up comedian? Like most of the time I feel like
Great fucking question, Ross.
Yeah,
It's been really tough. There's been some ups and downs, and admittedly, I think one of my not super great qualities is that when I think something is too hard, I kind of find justifications to like quit, or like maintaining social media, reaching out to booking agents, reaching out to clubs, like constant denial, and like, trying to get into festivals, losing money traveling for shows. It can be like really discouraging. And I've definitely had some points from like, I don't know if I'll like be a success at this. So why am I putting in this effort? I should just stop now. And I'm recently kind of getting into a practice of looking at success like differently, like.
Yes. Like, I feel like that's exactly where my head went kind of when you even started to explain that of like, okay, like, does the question become like not so much about like the goal of like, okay, the success is becoming the next biggest comedian in the world.
Right.
But it's like,
right.
Reframing that, and this goes for anything, because I've had to do this with so many things that I want to do, is like, okay, what is my actual measure of success? And that can always change, because it's like once it's here and I've met that, okay, well then the bar is going to raise again, and I know there's new challenges to be found after that, right?
Sure.
But it's like
Yes.
kind of figuring that out for yourself it's a weird wake up call sometimes of like, wait, like you were saying, it's like, is this really, I want to do this, but there's all these kind of things that I'm unsure about. And then you do begin questioning, like, am I even doing the right thing? But it's like, in the sense, and I'm sure you've, 100% thought this. It's not like me, I'm not bringing this to your attention now, but it's like, I'm sure it hit you at some point. You were like, you found something of like, well, the idea or the just the actual action of doing stand-up and experiencing that can be the success.
Yeah.
That can be the win. Getting the laugh can be the win. And of course, I know that that's so like bright and shiny world to say that.
Sure.
Because it's like, well, yeah, obviously you want the Netflix special. You want the that goes without saying really anything. Like I can sit and I can say, sure, I don't care if every episode of this podcast doesn't get 1 million listens, but I'm not going to deny if it was an option. You know what I mean? If it started to happen, I'm not going to be like, oh, no, I don't want that. Like, I'm going to be like, hell yeah, finally. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So, obviously, it goes without saying, all those larger goals are always there, but I think there's, like, power in not letting yourself have that tunnel vision of, like, if I don't have this version of success, then I'm unsuccessful.
Yes.
It's like, this is a version of the many successes that I could have from this thing that I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a number of comic friends who I've always admired for being very openly self-considered hobbyists, particularly because these folks, well, these women, they're all women, are very talented and very fucking funny and just disinterested in, that other side, the business of it, you know what I mean? And so I've been, and I remember like years ago, we were waiting in line to sign up for a mic, and the open mic at Shrunken Head has notoriously always been very populous. Like it's 40, 50 comedians will sign up sometimes. Like it's average, I would say solidly 35, 40 comedians. It's a long night. It's an effort to put in if you're like number 32, you know. And so we were waiting in line, and one of my friends was talking about how she had overheard a conversation from a comedian behind me who was talking about the stress of, you know, he had all this momentum moving and getting some club shows, and it just seemed to die down. And I was kind of commiserating on him with that. And I was like, yeah, I kind of experienced a similar thing. It felt like I was like getting something rolling, and then it just kind of like nothing really happened. And we were talking about like how we could fix it or whatever. And she was like, you know, I don't really care about that. You know, I think it's like really cool if I get to do a club show, but I really just enjoy this as something to do. Like, it's just like, you know, and then he like called her a hobbyist, but like it was like a dirty word, like, oh, you're a hobbyist. And then I kind of was like, I mean, who gives a shit? And also, like, the more hobbyists, the easier for the careerists, you know? So, like, don't knock them. I love it. And not in, like, a because there's less competition, but because there's, like, more people who have an interest and a passion about the same thing that I have an interest and a passion in. And it's not just, like, this goal-motivated, you know, fame-driven pursuit. Like, it's because they fucking love it. And I would much rather hang out with those folks, you know, like any day of the week. They're like, I come and write jokes because I love it. Yeah,
not because I'm not so it's like, oh, after the show we're not sitting and be like, I can't believe like that I didn't get paid for this, or I got paid, you know, like it's not this, that's not the sole focus of like, it's like, oh, I can't believe there was only 30 people here tonight instead of the 300 that I deserve. It's like, again, it goes back to that success thing. Like, success is different for everyone. And yes, there can be a lot of people who want the like career results from giving the hobbyist level energy. Like, there's definitely a lot of those people.
Yeah.
But I think it's amazing when somebody can identify, I'm just doing this because I enjoy it. You know, it's not being coded as, no, I'm going all in on this. And it's like, well, no, dude, I actually don't know if you are. Like, that's okay if you're not.
Yeah.
But don't paint it like you are, because there's a lot of work to be done, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, those are the same people who also would turn around and be like, I'm not getting the opportunities I deserve. And it's like, well, what are you doing for it, right? But that's a whole different, that's a whole different person than what we're talking about. Like, I think there is a lot of like freedom in allowing yourself, especially when you're pursuing something creative or entertainment driven, to like let the thing that's leading you be, I enjoy this. And then if I truly enjoy it and I get to continue enjoying it and other people enjoy me enjoying it, I feel like that can bring better results. Yeah. Than just like, who did I suck up to? Who did I kiss ass? Who did I whatever? Like,
yes. Like and I feel really actually like quite passionate about that in a lot of areas in life. You know, for Katrina and I's wedding, there are 6 family members coming to out of a group of 60 invited, you know, and it's because I don't enjoy you, you know, like you're not coming into this with great love and support and intention. So I don't have to do this, you know, like I've had jobs that I've worked for too long. And then you know, you get to the point where you're like, I don't enjoy this. Why am I doing this? Like, just there's gotta be something that is within your skills that you might like to do, you know, or maybe you have to develop skills and challenge yourself to like fucking learn something, you know. I just feel like if you don't like it, change it. You know. So
has your want or feeling that's attached to stand-up, I'm sure, I mean, every feeling evolves, but like, has it changed much over the years? Like, because I know you mentioned earlier, like, yeah, originally I wanted to act and write for shows, and then the more that I learned about that, I realized maybe that's not what I want to do. Like, has stand-up taken kind of the helm of like, yeah, this is like the thing I want to do, or is it like stand-up's like that the main thing that I do, but I still want to write for these things or act in other things, or
it's, stand-up's definitely the main thing, but I would love to, and I really think that I should stop being so hesitant. And I would love to do some more acting things, like I loved it. I was, it is a talent that I have. I think I feel confident in, and something that makes me feel happy. So I would definitely take on some other projects, some other opportunities to kind of use that bit of humor, or even, maybe some drama, but that's not always my bag. Although I will say, people who are funny, if they are good actors, when it's some sad shit, they're like really fun or weird or what, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Even like circling back to Robin Williams, like, dude has been in like a couple horror films that are a little uncomfortable,
There's a
like
lot.
1 Hour Photo. What's that other one? Insomnia.
Yeah. Well, see, there's a lot of like, I'm sure, I mean, it's happened for years, but like, definitely I feel like in the last handful of years, there's a lot of like comedian actors that are doing more like drama, thriller, like all this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when you watch, when you hear it, you're like, wait a second, they're going to be doing that? I'm interested. And then they kill it. Like the total opposite of like, I mean, I feel like a great example is like Adam Sandler.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like you say the phrase Adam Sandler movie, everybody can immediately picture what that is.
Right.
It's goofy, it's silly, it's for the family, it's probably filled with...
Which is like really nothing like what he's done at all recently.
Right. And then you have a movie like Uncut Gems, which I don't know if you watched or not, but like a movie like that's just this like crazy drama, like all this sort of stuff. And you're like, this, like, you forget, they're like, oh wait, no, they're just good at acting. They're good at performing, but it's only in this form all the time. Yeah,
I think some people are just like, I have dimension, and they just want to be able to like show it. And, they probably carve in where it's easiest, get in where you fit in, and then be able to also bloom in some other areas. So
right.
I would be interested. I have a very deep, I would say my biggest dream is to voice a cartoon.
Dude, yes.
Like I just think it would just be so fun. Like a movie, cool, but like a show would be better, because I think just like longevity would just be awesome to. I'm a big fan of cartoons, and so like that would just be. I would love to be a cartoon, you know what I mean? Like that would be awesome, but from what I understand, the physics aren't aligning. So,
like voicing a cartoon is like on my like ultimate bucket list of like, that is a thing. Creating a cartoon is one thing, and that's I literally have dipped my toe in trying to figure that out, because I have an idea.
Yeah.
And I already am like, talk about a team sport. Like, I cannot do this.
Yeah, that's the thing. Oh, I would love to.
Like,
well, maybe we should chat about it. I have no skill in animation, but
that's the hardest part.
I'd be happy to provide any other assistance.
Literally.
Yeah, that's the thing though, right? I think that's what everybody's like, like I've had so many conversations with my like sweet comedy buds, and they're like, yeah, let's make a cartoon together. Like, that would be so great. And we're like, what's our premise? Like, we'll knock around some ideas, whatever. And they're like, okay, so who's going to draw it? And we're all like,
who do you know? See, that's
not me, dog.
That's the hard thing. And that's like one thing that I've learned. And I haven't, like, I'm a big, like, I don't like talking about ideas unless it's like in motion, right? But I'll share this just
cards
for the fun
close to the
like,
chest sort of thing.
Honestly,
I feel that. Okay.
Yeah. I don't like to be that hype person who's like, well, I'm working on something big, right?
Sure.
But I mean, we're almost like 2 hours into the conversation. So like, if somebody's really listening attentively now, then great. They deserve the secrets, right?
Yeah.
But over the last like handful of years, like I've been trying to piece together like an idea for an adult cartoon. And I've gotten as far as getting character renders and stuff made by an animation friend, because like I hate the idea of like, my personality is like addictive in the sense of like, if I think of an idea or somebody tells me an idea, I'm immediately like webbing into my brain of like, what's the connector pieces? Is that possible, and how's it possible? Mm-hmm. Because I personally love to try anything that I feel like trying, and I love seeing other people try anything that they feel like trying. And that adult cartoon concept has been something that's stuck with me. So like for me, I'm like, I need at least a little bit of proof that I'm attempting it or that I have an idea, So like I took it to the step of getting an animator friend to help me form the character renders of it and do all that sort of stuff. And but it's like past that, I immediately I'm like, this is so difficult because like we had the conversation about, yes, let's animate a clip and do some voiceover stuff, which I'm with you on the, like, I would love to voice something. Like, I just love the idea of, yes, doing VO for anything. But then it's like, it's so difficult because it's like, well, there's not money in starting up an idea, you know? And like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I can't bribe them with like, hey, like, yeah, start animating some stuff for me and I can pay you, friend.
Sometime.
It's like if they have enough going on in their life, like, I also have that blockade where like, I feel bad if I'm trying to bring somebody into my idea and be like, yeah, give me this thing and I hope you're interested in it too. It's like, even if they are interested, I still am like, I wish I could do this all on my own so I didn't have to rely on somebody else and take away your time and your energy of other things you could be doing. I don't know how I spiraled into that rant, but to say, yes, voiceover for stuff sounds incredible.
It sounds so fun.
And that is a part of my problem as a creative is I think of an idea that sounds fun. I figure out how it's plausible and I immediately start trying to connect the dots to at least take a first step into it. So now if I'm ever in a room with somebody who's like, oh, gee, I've just got this $1 million laying around that I really want to give to somebody for a cartoon, I can be like, look, I know where you
can shove that $1 million.
I've got a place that money can go. Hope you like this idea.
In my bank account, orifices, whatever. Just give it to me.
Just give me the money. Just give me the money. How many voices do you want me to do? I can do voices right now, please. The concept is fun.
Yeah, it would be pretty sweet.
Well, as we have become friends in the last near 2 hours, I would love to include you in anything that I'm trying to do if you're ever open for that. That is, again, near addiction to like just making stuff and including people and if I wanted to like label it as something really cool, I could say it's like community building, but I really just like including people in things. Whenever I find out they have a tiny interest in something, I'm like, is there a way that I could help you get further in that? And not that I have the answers at all, but like that is exciting for me when I'm like, oh man. So like if in 5 years you're helping write the show and you're voicing a character on the show, I'm going to be like, yes, like listen back to that podcast. Like
Columbus is really famously great at bringing artist community together. Honestly, I think we have a really, really incredibly strong art scene in Columbus in, myriad avenues. It's a really cool city. I mean, I don't know that it's my forever home, but
right.
It's definitely a cool place to be. It's nice to show it off even sometimes. I'm like, hey, here's a cute spot.
Yeah. And
don't look at like other like Dublin and it's fucking boring over there. It's super white. So like we'll go over here. Like Franklinton is dope.
Right. Yeah. And that's like I'm trying to like because for so many years in my I'll just call it creative career, like I've kind of been in my own bubble. It was like me and like the close friends that I had, started doing all the work with. It was sort of just like, yes, like almost got tunnel vision of like working so hard on these ideas that it was just sort of, oh, you're kind of in this bubble and you're not totally collaborating with, and not that you have to, but obviously like being open to doing other things with other people and all that sort of stuff is like a good door to have open. And that's something I've really been trying to work on for the last handful of years. Is like, okay, I know I love connecting people and I love connecting with people and working together and collaborating in whatever way. So I need to stop like thinking about that and be like, man, that'd be cool if that could happen, and just start taking
initiative.
Is
tough. Initiative is also not one of my strongest characteristics. I will hesitate a lot, and it's absolutely rooted in like self-doubt, I'm sure, if I were to really like investigate. I'm not consciously being like, you're not worth it, you're never gonna make it, people hate you, like that's not like how I feel, but I'm hesitant to do things, and I'm getting sick of it. I'm gaining more initiative, particularly coming out of a period of time where my love wasn't available to me, you know what I mean? Like not being able to perform during quarantine closures was just like a gut punch, commiserating with some of my other comedians, my best friends who are also comedians, and just being like, do you feel like something has been sapped from you? Like your life force is just leaking right out of your toes into the carpet, just slowly day by day, just getting heavier. And I was like, oh yeah, I feel that doom and misery as well. I had a real deep kind of depression, I think, not being able to have that. And virtual shows fucking suck. They're so awkward. And it's just the again, that one response that we want is audio, it's laughs, and so when you're on a screen and everyone else is muted, then it's just like,
right,
insert laugh emoji. Like it's just so unfun.
Oh, when I said that, a couple hearts popped up.
Yeah, they're rough. They're really rough. And
I
like you can see, some people will sign, which is really polite, to demonstrate that they're laughing, having a good time. But I did I did one really horrible virtual show, and then I guess we should probably stop railing at some point. I did a virtual show for Capital University for their LGBTQ plus student org, and they were paying very well, so I said yes. And it ended up being a number of other comedians, local comedians, on the show as well. We all know each other. We're queer and comedian. It is a tight little circle there, and we all had to perform to essentially each other and maybe 11 students who were sharing dorm bunk beds for the start of the thing while they were introducing everyone and saying hello and getting everyone into the virtual conference. And then once they shut everyone's mics off, they also shut everyone's cameras off. So they made everyone off camera as well. So it was just my friend Pat Deering, local comedian, great bud. He he was the only one who had a Zoom profile image, and so it defaulted to his profile image. So I just performed 30 minutes of comedy in silence to a 4x4 of Pat Deering in a professional photo, just going,
wow,
for 30 minutes silence to just avoid. Comedy to avoid. And I walked away, and I mean people are chatting haha, that's so funny, ha ha ha, and I'm we could just I was never fucking again. I don't care how much they pay me, which is absolutely not true. Can be bought. But I was just why? This was a miserable experience. I walked away and I was that is the fucking worst experience I've ever had in comedy.
Yeah.
It wasn't, there's no way. All of us, we chatted about it afterward, and we were all that blue.
Yeah, that sucked, right?
That was terrible.
I couldn't imagine. The idea of...
It's you don't get it. That's not how it works.
Right, yeah. The idea of doing that is just so disconnected, I feel like. In general, the idea of stand-up, while so fascinating to me because I love it, is also insanely terrifying. The idea of getting up and doing that, having that initiative to be all right, I'm going to write a set, I'm going to make it sensible and funny, and then I'm going to go perform it. Again, circling back to opening up this conversation, be hey, yeah, you perform really well, and that's the coolest thing, right?
Yeah.
But doing that also virtually and to no one and to I can't even because I feel that changes your quote unquote, I don't know, strategy of
it changed everything. I'm
much.
very much eat up the stage kind of, give me room. I wasn't when I first started. It took me probably 2 months to even take the microphone out of the stand out of fear of not fucking doing it right. I was I need to watch how they do it. I need to okay, they just pull it straight out. And then you put the cord back in, you pull it back out. Okay, I see how, because I was just terrified. I had never, I wasn't in band. I didn't have any experience dealing with a microphone on my own in that way. It had all been body mics and stuff. So I was just I don't know how to touch it, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't figure it out. So I avoided it for a while. This seems like an inappropriate allegory now. And, finally, I would grab, and then I would just kind of hold it to my chest, a lot of male comics will do, where they just stand there and they're this this chick I was boning one time or whatever.
Yeah.
Really genius and unique premise they're presenting us. And I just stood there, and then eventually I saw videos of myself and I was like, this looks very inauthentic. Like, you can see that I'm like bursting with energy and I just need to like move. And so now I'm just like, take up space, like particularly like as a woman, as like a queer woman, like just being conditioned to just shrink and compact and give other people room and step out of the way. And now I'm just like, you know,
Yeah.
like, this is my bubble. It's big. I dance like this. I am all hands and elbows, like kick it out. I don't care. Just take up space. It's kind of my new
like
thing, my new motivation.
All of that, though, is what made watching your set so fun. You know what I mean? As a viewer, as a person who was in the audience.
Thanks. I'm glad.
Those
Thank
were
you.
the things that like I know I feel like I'm just saying the same thing and just like tossing praise just because you're sitting here, but it's like, that is why we're sitting here. You know what I mean? It's because I was like, yes, like, again, jokes are funny. The tiny story points that you include of, you know, childhood and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I'd like to know more about that, right? Because that's just me being me. I love to dig into that stuff. But also, again, back to the performing point that I explained earlier. Like, I'm like, okay, you just owned the room. And that is so cool to me to see somebody to do. So even imagining you standing up there kind of frozen with a mic, I'm like, I couldn't
Yeah,
imagine
they're so
that,
weird
you know?
when I
really
watch
couldn't.
early
Like,
videos. It's so I just am like,
Yeah.
who? Look at this sweet newbie. What a tender babe.
is there, left field question for you, is there
Sure.
like anything, one particular thing, whatever it may be, like, what do you feel like you've learned about yourself through doing stand-up and pursuing that? Is there anything that comes to mind that's like, yeah, like, this is the thing?
I've learned I'm a lot more politically passionate than I thought I ever was. I'm a lot more social policy aware than I thought I ever was. I think, people will ask it often if I'm a political comedian, and I don't necessarily think I am categorically. It's just kind of like I exist in this society, and like there are things that irk me, and like I feel like, I would like to see progress in a good direction. And I never realized that I would have so much to say about sex education and menstruation and abortion and just like things that are going on with, like coming to even understand my own body. And like, I think bodily self-love also comes with understanding like where all of these external harm points are. You're like, oh, I love myself, but society hates all this shit about me. So I need to change that. Like, I need to talk about it. So I initially, when I first started comedy, I was just kind of quippy and also just a little perverse. And then I feel like I changed my focus. I think I really leaned into this niche of like queer comedian a little too heavily at first. And then I was like, I am queer and comedian, like they can be, two things can be true, and they don't have to be just this one amalgam. And so I've evolved into a much more political person than I thought I would ever be. Because when I was younger, I was like, who's the president right now? No, I wasn't that ignorant. But like, I couldn't have named, Department of Justice heads and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Right,
like, I was never that aware. I never really gave a shit. And I was like, what's Desert Storm? I don't remember. They had a gumball card or something about it. There was a G.I. Joe. And now I'm like, like, do you see what fucking China's doing? Like,
Right.
I'm like definitely a lot more aware. So I feel like that bleeds into my comedy.
So outside of hopefully in a few years us getting to make a cartoon together, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but like even like looking forward into like the world of comedy or just like the world of like Angie in general, like what, like when you do look forward, like what are the things that are like next that you want to pursue? Is it just like do you feel like you found that measure of success in stand-up where you're like, if I'm here, I'm good? Or is it like, no, I still want to grow as much as possible in this? Or again, branch out into, writing or anything else, which I know you
Yeah.
kind of answered that earlier, but even
Yeah.
looking forward with like the comedy world and everything in general, like what would you feel like is next, or what are you like hoping is next?
I think what I would really like to start doing is just like really taking over some clubs. It's just such a boys' game at comedy clubs, and I just don't think that that's what people want anymore. And comedy clubs all over the country are just like dying. And I would really love to just participate in this kind of revival of what I think are a cool thing. You know what I mean? It's like a whole venue designated specifically for ha-has. Like that is so fucking rare that they're not grilling paninis in the background and some dude's not munching on a buffalo wing in front of you, like while you're in a poorly lit place because they put a light on the floor and only your knees are highlighted. Like there's just so many bad places for comedy, and to have areas where like that is the priority, that's the focus. I don't want to see them like fucking go away. You know what I mean? Like I've talked with my partner about, maybe we open a comedy club somewhere, like maybe we open a kind of a counterculture comedy club. So that way, like I've done some really fucking cool shows in some weird ass art spaces. I love grungy art spaces. However, it is also awesome to be able to go to a space that has the availability to pay you very handsomely and you get like a working toilet, you're not paid in Ham's beers, which is like fine. But I've literally driven to Detroit for beers just to do comedy, and it's awesome and I love it. And I don't ever want to stop doing that, but I want to kind of change the scope of what the average individual outside of an art scene thinks of comedy, because their exposure is through those clubs. Their exposure is through, the first landing pages that they see on like a Netflix special, or like, I was getting so fucking irritated. I think it was HBO, and I was just like, dudes. I'm like scrolling for like 5 pages, and then I'm finally like, oh, okay, Linnell, great. One lady, awesome. It's like some 20-year-old Wanda Sykes like special, which is awesome. But like, can we put that at the top of the fucking page?
Right.
She's a murderer, she's so funny. Like, move it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever.
So I have a very cliche question for you.
Sure.
That I'm sure you've probably answered a lot, but I'm still going to throw it at you. If somebody was listening to this right now, and they're wanting to enter the comedy world, they're wanting to try stand-up or anything, like looking back at everything that you've learned up to this point, like, do you have some like go-to advice that you share with somebody when they ask you like, hey, how do you get started in stand-up, or how do you blah, blah, blah? Like, what is it you would share with that person? Yeah.
I would advise them to be bold, do your research, find a space that you might already be familiar with or comfortable with. I think is nice if you're feeling like extremely vulnerable. But ultimately, as you're getting into it, the starting of the comedy literally involves writing your name down and going up there and having a pre-planned 2 minutes, even just something that you would like to say that tickles you. The advice after that is surround yourself with friends and family and cohorts and other comedians who support your interest in that and don't see you as competition or see it as a wasted venture, So know who is with you, for sure.
So Angie, I have 2 final questions for you.
Yeah.
And then we can wrap things up. One, if you had the ability to time travel.
Okay.
And you could go, I know we're going off the deep end here.
Sure, yeah.
And you could go back to any point in time in your life and share advice with you at any point in time. Where are you going and what are you telling yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question. The first thing that came to mind was I would go back to when I was 17, the night when I was kind of squeezed out of the closet, and not lie and just tell the truth to begin with. Just like really be really bold, give them that like, now what? Yeah, what, bitch? Like your move. And I would be curious to know how they would have handled it. But I think if I were to like really go back and give myself any sort of advice, it would probably be just even within a couple years ago to just be like, hey, it's not going to last forever. And you can always get back on it. Like there was such a fear of not delivering enough in some sort of cocoon of creativity we were all supposed to be in as artists when we weren't able to actually pursue our passions and arts. We're supposed to just bust out of here with some revolutionary work. And I think I would go back and tell myself to chill the fuck out and reassess sooner what success is to you.
So I just had you give advice to a past version of you. But now, with the final question, I want you to give advice to everyone.
Advice to everyone.
I end all these episodes with the exact same question, and that question is, if right now you knew that everyone everywhere was listening to you speak live into that microphone right now, and you get to tell them something, you get to share something with them. If you were talking to everyone, what would you want them to hear?
I would advise to take a look around at the people with whom you surround yourself. I feel like the people that are in your circle are a real reflection of you. And if you find in that look that they aren't, change that. Find people who support you, and find people who uplift you, and find people who adore you for your authentic self.
Angie, thank you so much.
Ross, thank you. This was so much fun. This was really great.
Yes, this was a blast. Like, I am so stoked we got to make this happen.
I hope some people make it the whole time.
I think they will. I think they will, and I think they're going to enjoy it.
Fuck yeah.
We made it the whole time.
We made it the whole time.
We did
Go
it.
us.
Here's how I want to end this episode. I want to rejoin hands
Yeah.
as we started. That is an episode of the podcast. Thank you so very much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
This was a blast. We did it, dude. Thank
did
you
it.
so much. All right, another thank you to Angie for being on the show and opening up with everything that she did, especially since this was the very first time that we ever sat down to have a conversation in general. I mean, we went from meeting and passing after she slayed a comedy set to now sitting down here and dare I say, maybe becoming friends. So I'm very stoked that we got to make that happen. So if you want to keep up with Angie, see what she's up to, find any of her upcoming stand-up shows or anything like that, you can give her a follow at hotbitterbiscuits. That is where you can find her. And of course, I'll have all that linked in the show notes and all that good stuff. So you can also find me at Who's Ross Tyson. More importantly, though, you can find and follow the show at WYDH Pod. That's on Instagram. And there's a Twitter out there to follow if you want to. I honestly barely use it, and I don't know if that's good or bad of me, but it's there if you want to toss it a follow. But if you really want to help out and support the show, there's a few other ways that you can do that. You can hit that follow or subscribe button on whatever platform that you're listening to this on. It would also be very cool if you tossed up a rating or review for the show as well. Toss us some stars on there or leave a written review if you really liked what you heard. If you want to keep up with all these episodes in video form, both these full-length stories and the shorter topic-based 15-minute Fridays, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ross Tyson. That is where you can find all of these in video form. So do all the things, feed the algorithms, tell somebody about it, whatever you can do, honestly, to help spread the word of this show and get these stories heard in whatever form. It helps a whole lot more than what you may know, and I appreciate it greatly. So one last reminder also to check out this week's sponsors, Makers Social. the DIY Craft Bar, located in the Franklinton Arts District. You can visit makerscolumbus.com and enter WYDH into the notes of your checkout for $10 off your reservation. And of course, also shouts to Promo West Productions and all the shows that they've got coming through Columbus. For more info on all of that, you can visit promowestlive.com. So support if you can, support if you want, but even if you don't, I just have to say thank you very much for listening. If you're on YouTube, thank you for looking, and I hope you stick around for more. Because as always, I'll be back next episode with a brand new guest that you may or may not know of, with a brand new story that you for sure never heard.